This is Chapter 1, Section 2, The Nature of Science. Please write down in your notes, the main idea of Section 2, The Nature of Science, is this. Science is a process based on inquiry that develops explanations. So what is science? Well, science is a body of knowledge based on the study of nature. The nature or essential characteristics of science is scientific inquiry. And scientific inquiry is both a creative process and a process rooted in unbiased observations and experimentation. So notice that science is actually something that grows into something bigger. So last section we talked about how cells became tissues, tissues became organs, and organs became an organ system. Well, in describing what is science, you can see it starts very small with that first bullet point. It grows a little bit bigger with the second and becomes even more complicated with the third. Make sure you understand all three of those bullet points and that you've studied them. The first bullet point will probably not cut it on a test. A theory is an explanation of a natural phenomenon supported by many observations and experiments over time. Listen, there's something that drives me crazy when I'm watching movies, and it's when somebody says, I have a theory. I wonder if, and then they go on to explain something that's a hypothesis. If they're still wondering if it's that they don't know, if it's not been proven, then it's not a theory, it's a hypothesis. So make sure you understand the difference and start correcting your own vocabulary, because I hear teachers every day get those two words mixed up. Bullet point 2, a scientific law describes relationships under certain conditions in nature, but does not explain the why the relationship is the way it is. So a law describes relationships under certain conditions, but it doesn't explain the why. And theories do not become laws, and laws do not become theories. So, making observations and drawing conclusions. Scientists choose subjects to study and decide what types of data to collect. They analyze the data collected to draw conclusions. Expanding the knowledge through scientific explanations, combining what is already known with the evidence from additional observations and experiments. By this, it's driven by research for new knowledge, and it's constantly reevaluated to see what is known. Pseudosciences imitate science. They're driven by cultural or commercial goals, and new questions and additional research are not welcomed. Challenges, accepted theories. Scientists welcome debate. They love to argue about one another's ideas. And let me tell you, if you want to do really well in this class, be very, very good and develop the skills, if you're not already good, at giving a plausible argument, being able to back that up with evidence, and sharing ideas, because that's how we get better. Scientists advance by accommodating new information as it is discovered. So, questions and results. In science, observations or data that are not consistent with current scientific understanding are of interest. These inconsistencies often lead to further investigation. In pseudoscience, inconsistencies are discarded or even ignored. Test claims. This is my favorite. Whether it be the new fishing lure, the new rod, some type of GPS system for fishing, pheromone scents for hunting deer or other types of wild game, or how about this, makeup and skincare. Be careful about test claims. Scientists use standard experimental procedures, and their claims based on a large amount of data and observations obtained from unbiased investigations and carefully controlled experimentation, while pseudoscientists make claims that cannot be tested or are a mixture of fact and opinion, or I like to say fact and fiction. And so as a consumer, what I always ask myself, or I ask the salesman, or you should ask the people, hey, explain to me what kind of study did you do? Was it a double-blind study? Did they ask other people to do this, and did they test it for them for free, or did they pay the people to do it? There's all different kinds of ways to get facts and figures, and it can look like it's on the up and up, but really when you get down to the bare bones, is it really accurate? And so always ask yourself those questions and the other people around you. Peer review. What is that? Well, you're going to learn about it a lot this year. Before it's made public, science-based information is reviewed by scientists' peers. So other scientists are going to review the information. So the peer review is a process by which the procedures used during an experiment and the results are evaluated by other scientists who are in the same field or who are conducting similar research. So when we talk about the different types, the different steps to the scientific method, if you're not taking very good notes and working well, you're not going to get a very good peer review. So you and your partner may have done really well on an experiment, and you may have even gotten the correct answer. But if the people who are doing the peer review of your lab report find that it's lacking, you have failed the lab. And so we'll be using peer review quite a bit in real-world science situations this year. A person who is scientifically literate combines a basic understanding of science and its processes with the reasoning and thinking skills. So it doesn't do any good to have this thing right here, knowing all the different vocabulary words, right? And what they mean. And it doesn't really do you any good to have a basic understanding of science because, like, everybody can have that. It's this part right here. You need to be able to process information, think about the information that you've been given, and come up with reasonings for your answer using these first two things. Ethics is a set of moral principles or values. Ethics need to be in everything we do. Again, going back to the lab situation, if you did everything for the most part correct, let's say your answers came out correct, and then your dog chewed up your lab report. And so you and your lab partner go, well, we know the answer was correct. Mrs. Lewis told us it was good. So I think that we could probably just recreate the lab report. Yeah, you could recreate that, but is that very ethical? And what if it ends up not being correct? In a real life science situation, that could hurt someone. So finally, for your quiz, be able to answer these essential questions. What are the characteristics of scientific inquiry? What are the differences between science and pseudoscience? And why is scientific literacy important? I think they had a little goof here. Why is scientific literacy important? And your vocabulary words for this section are science, theory, law, peer review, and ethics. Make sure you have your notes ready for me tomorrow.